I moved across the country to start over, but no matter how far I went, he still found me. I first saw him at the Dollar Tree where I worked, standing too still at the end of an aisle, watching me in a way that made my skin crawl. When I left my old life behind, I didn't know where I'd end up. I just knew I needed distance, miles between me and everything tied to what happened back home. A small town in another state seemed like the right place to disappear. Dollar Tree wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work. A quiet job in a quiet place. That was what I thought I needed. Fluorescent lights, shelves to stock, registers to run. A chance at normal. Closing shifts became my routine. I'd straighten shelves, ring up the handful of customers drifting in before we locked the doors, then sweep and count down the register. It was repetitive, predictable. And predictability made me feel safe. The only thing I hadn't shaken yet was the way headlights could make my stomach twist. Any time a pair stayed behind me too long on the road, my throat tightened. But I told myself those nerves would fade with time. That's when I noticed him. He wasn't shopping. He wasn't even pretending to. He just stood near the registers, hands buried in his pockets, eyes flicking toward me but never landing. He didn't move like the usual customers. Everyone else drifted in with purpose, grabbing paper towels or a snack. But he just lingered, heavy and silent. When he finally left, I caught myself watching him through the glass doors. He climbed into a dark car parked away from the lights and pulled out slow, like he had nowhere to be. Something about the way he moved stuck with me longer than it should have. I told myself not to overthink it. Every small town has its drifters and oddballs. Maybe he was waiting on a ride. Maybe he didn't have anywhere else to go. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. Still, I tried to shake it off. After everything I'd been through before moving here, I thought maybe I was just overly sensitive. Maybe I was looking for threats where there weren't any. A few days later, I was restocking an aisle when I felt footsteps behind me. Not passing footsteps, but the kind that keep pace with yours, just close enough that you can sense someone hovering. I turned, and there he was again. The same man. No basket, no items in his hands. Just trailing me, too close, like he wanted me to notice. By the time I clocked out and headed for my car, I saw it parked across the lot. The same dark car. Engine running, headlights off, angled toward the doors. The shape of him in the driver's seat was just a shadow. I didn't look twice. I just got in my own car and drove away, heart thumping harder than I wanted to admit. After that night, I couldn't pretend anymore. I started double-checking the locks when I got home. Left the porch light on every night. Kept my heavy flashlight by the bed, telling myself it was just for power outages. But knowing that wasn't the real reason, every shift felt heavier. Every aisle felt too quiet. I hated that he was in my head, that he could make me second-guess the safety I'd been trying to rebuild. I didn't survive everything back then just to crumble now, I whispered to myself. But my voice shook. One night after closing, I was driving home. I checked my mirror and saw headlights behind me. At first it was nothing, just another car heading the same way. But mile after mile, turn after turn, those headlights stayed. They weren't close enough to tailgate me, but they weren't far enough to be random either. It was the kind of distance you'd keep if you wanted to follow someone without spooking them. When I finally turned onto my street, the car peeled away in the opposite direction. I pulled into my driveway with my hands trembling on the wheel. I told myself it was just bad timing, but my gut screamed otherwise. From then on, I changed everything. I parked closer to the entrance at work. I memorized license plates in the lot. My phone stayed on, already open to 911, in case I needed to press it fast. I even rehearsed what I'd say to the dispatcher in my head. I didn't want to be the kind of person who jumped at shadows, but I also didn't want to end up a headline. It wasn't how I wanted to live, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had moved here to escape the fear, and now it had followed me all the way to my front door. The next time I saw him, he didn't just linger. He came straight to my register. He didn't put anything on the counter, just stood there, eyes locked on mine. His stare was flat, like there was nothing human behind it. "You thought you could just walk away, huh?" he muttered. His voice was low, but I heard every word. My stomach dropped like a stone. This wasn't random. Whoever he was, he knew me. That night, I saw his car in my mirror again. This time he kept more distance, far enough back that I almost convinced myself I was imagining it. But every time I slowed, he slowed. Every time I sped up, so did he. I thought if I pulled in fast, I could make it into my driveway, run inside, lock the door before he caught up. I sped in, tires crunching against gravel, jumped out, and fumbled for my keys. But he was faster. His door slammed, his shoes pounded the pavement, and suddenly, he was on the porch with me. He shoved against me, his words spilling out in ragged shouts. "You ruined everything. You don't get to live your life like nothing happened." I swung my flashlight into his arm, managed to slip inside, and slammed the deadbolt. The door shook under his fists as he pounded, screaming about what I'd done. Each hit rattled the frame. I could hear his breath, sharp and furious, like he was trying to break the air itself. Through the crack of the frame, he shouted the words that froze me to the bone. "My brother's dead because of you. You should have been the one in that car." I screamed back through the door, my voice breaking. It wasn't me, it wasn't my fault. I wasn't even the driver. But he didn't care. His fists kept slamming the wood like gunshots. The door rattled again, and this time it cracked open just enough for his hand to snake through. His fingers clamped around my wrist, yanking me toward him. His skin was hot, his grip iron. I shrieked, slamming the flashlight down on his arm, struggling to break free. He pulled harder, nails scraping my skin. Then a neighbor's porch light snapped on, and someone shouted across the street. His grip loosened, and with a snarl, he bolted back to his car. By the time the police arrived, he was gone. My neighbor had seen enough to back me up, but that didn't calm the shaking in my chest. My wrist was bruised where he'd grabbed me. My whole body buzzed like static. I sat with the officers at my kitchen table, hands still trembling as I tried to explain. They asked if I knew him, if there had been threats before. I shook my head, but part of me knew the truth. His words had been too specific, too sharp. When they left, they promised to patrol the area. But we all knew that didn't mean he was gone, just that he'd wait until I was alone again. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the corner of my living room with every light on, flashlight across my lap. My mind kept circling back to the same place it always did. The accident, the wreck that had ruined everything. Years ago, another driver had run a red light. I wasn't even behind the wheel, but the passenger in the other car didn't survive. His brother. And I've carried the guilt ever since. I left because I couldn't stand the stares, the whispers, the way people looked at me like I should have been the one in the coffin instead. I moved thousands of miles to escape the accident, the whispers, the stares. But I guess you can't outrun grief, not when it's hunting you too. He used to work here. Now he won't leave us alone. The night we locked the doors at 10 and killed half the lights, I saw him waiting across the parking lot, leaning on his dented car under a lamppost, arms folded like he'd punched a clock too. I told myself not to stare. It was one of those quiet nights where you hear the buzz in the fixtures and the registers clicking shut. But even with the glass and the neon between us, I could feel it. The way he was looking at us like we still owed him something. My name's Tiana. I work closing shifts at Dollar Tree, the one tucked between the laundromat and the bail bonds office off the service road. This location shuts down at 10 p.m., and after we lock up, it's just the small crew finishing tills and trash so we can clock out by 10:30. He used to push freight here, got fired a few weeks back for mouthing off at our manager, Marta, after she wrote him up for leaving the bailer open. We changed the alarm code and collected his badge. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Closing is a ritual. Marta pulls the drawers and counts at register 1 while I restock candy and straighten the end caps. Dee runs a broom through the main aisle and breaks down cardboard in the back. You keep your head down, keep the aisles clean, and try not to think about the long route home. When the front doors lock, the store goes from chatter to a kind of padded quiet. The humming cooler, the click of coins, the squeak of the broom. That's all you hear. We like it that way. By 10:15, it felt almost safe. I saw it when I took a bag of hangers to the back. His car had shifted, now sitting across 2 spaces under the pole light, like he wanted to be seen. Engine off, windows up. He didn't get out. He just watched us through the glass. I told myself maybe he was waiting for someone from the laundromat. People sit out there all the time. But he didn't look at the other stores. He looked at us, like he was trying to decide if we'd notice. Dee caught me glancing out and said, "Don't worry about him. He doesn't have keys. He couldn't find the alarm panel with a map." She made a face and went back to sweeping. I wanted to believe that. He'd turned everything in. We'd changed codes. We had cameras covering the doors and the stockroom. On paper, we were fine. So I kept working. But my eyes kept drifting to the front glass like there was a magnet in it. Around 10:15, I rolled the trash cart toward the back door and saw his car had crept 1 lane closer, nose pointed right at the entrance. He was out now, pacing, a cigarette pinched in his fingers. He held his phone up and pointed it at us, slow, like he was filming. Marta stepped up beside me, didn't say anything for a beat. Then low, "Do not go outside. Do not engage. Document. If he comes to the door again, I'm calling." She didn't have to say who. Dee whispered, "If he's filming, he's trying to build something on us, like we harassed him first." The thought made my chest feel tight. You can do everything right and still lose the video war if somebody edits it wrong. I checked the locks, even though I'd watched Marta throw the deadbolt. The glass reflected us back. 3 tired people in green shirts, a whole store between us and the parking lot. And still, I didn't feel like we were inside enough. The first bang on the front doors was so hard it shook the metal. A second later, another. He cupped his hands to the glass and yelled, but the words smeared into muffled noise. We could see the shape of his mouth, the flush in his face. Marta raised her voice without shouting. "Back from the windows. Everyone back. Stay visible to the cameras." She moved with the calm that means she's scared and doesn't want to show it. The calm that makes everyone else copy her. Dee and I stepped behind the register pit and pulled our phones. Marta called, voice low, giving our address and situation, saying it wasn't an immediate medical emergency, but it was escalating. I heard her say, "Former employee, trespassing, aggressive. We are locked inside." My eyes watered the way they do when adrenaline hits hard. My hearing tunneled. Every sound felt too close. The soft printer ticking, the cooler humming, the scuff of Dee's shoes on the mat. I kept my camera up and pointed at the door, documenting. He paced, phone in one hand, something dangling from his belt loop on the other. It took me a second to realize it was one of our old Dollar Tree shirts, rolled tight, the green logo catching the light each time he turned. Dee muttered, "He brought that back to taunt us." It clicked for me. He hadn't just wandered over angry and bored. He'd dressed the part. He wanted to make it look like he still belonged here, or like we took something from him he could still take back. Then he vanished from the front windows. No car door slam, no headlights. Just gone. Marta's eyes snapped to the left. "Side door," she said. "Move." We slid along the main aisle until we could see the seasonal end cap and the little hallway toward the employee area. The motion sensor light above aisle 8 blinked on and off like something brushed the outer window. My mouth went dry. We staged by the employee hallway, not by the emergency exit. That door screams if you crack it, but close enough to move if we had to. We put our bags down in a neat line like we were about to leave for a fire drill. Someone rattled the employee door handle from the other side of the wall. Just a quick, testing jiggle, then stillness. I felt the box cutter in my pocket and hated the fact that I felt better with it there. "Don't open anything," Marta said. "We wait for the police." The exit alarm went off anyway. Not ours. The one for the stockroom emergency door, a higher, thinner tone that makes your shoulder blades climb your back. It bleated once, twice, then cut, and a heavy slam rolled through the cinder block like a dropped pallet. We ran eyes, not feet, looking for motion, for shadows, for a clue. Nothing moved. When the cruisers turned in off the service road, blue light washed the tile. By the time the officers crossed the floor, he was gone. No car in the lane. Just footprints in the grit by the back door and a set of peeling tire marks near the dumpsters. They took our statements and told us to file a trespass notice through corporate. We did. I drove home on the same route, knuckles white, checking mirrors like he might materialize in the back seat. For 2 shifts after that, he didn't show. I thought maybe the talk with the cops knocked it out of him. The third night proved me wrong. It was just after 10:20, coats in hand, the store finally settling into that after-hours silence when it happened. A sound like the building itself cracked apart, the glass doors exploding inward in a shower of shards. At first, my brain searched for a cause. A crash, a thrown rock, maybe even a car backing up wrong. But then I saw him. He came through the wreckage himself, forcing his way inside, shouldering past the twisted frame. Blood striped his sleeves where the glass bit him, but he didn't slow down. For one frozen second, all of us were stuck in place, stunned by the fact he was really there. Then his eyes locked on Dee at register 2. His whole body changed. He dropped his shoulders, set his jaw, and lowered his head like he had only one target in the world. Then he charged. He hit the counter hard, swinging wild, grabbing at her arm, trying to drag her out from behind the register. She screamed, shoving back, and I moved without thinking. Marta, too. We didn't fight clean. It wasn't about that. It was hands on him, weight against him, anything to slow him down. We crashed together on the tile, a tangle of limbs. His wrist bone ground into mine, sharp and hot. My knee slammed the floor. Marta had both fists in his sleeve, trying to keep him from swinging again. Dee kicked his phone out of reach, glass crunching under her sneakers as she moved. He thrashed, jerking toward the broken doorway like he still meant to drag someone out through it. It burned, my muscles locked, my shoulder screaming. But we forced him down. I had his arm pinned. Marta had the other. He bucked under us, shouting things I couldn't even process. Somewhere in that noise, someone had already dialed. The wail of sirens grew fast on the service road. I didn't let go until the officers dragged him up off the floor. They cuffed him and walked him out with his face turned down. One of our old Dollar Tree shirts still hanging off his belt loop like a joke that wouldn't land. We swept glass into a dull, glittering hill and waited for maintenance. The officers said the words you always hear: restraining order, no contact, show up to court. We nodded. We'd show. Word travels fast in a strip center. By noon the next day, the woman at the bail bonds office told a customer he'd already made bail. I tried to tell myself she didn't know, that it was gossip, that even if it was true, he wouldn't come back because now it was on paper. I tried. That evening, I pulled into work and parked closer to the front than I ever do. The lot looked normal. A couple cars, the laundromat's neon rolling in the windows, a grocery bag blowing across the asphalt. Out past the last pole light, a familiar shape sat nose out toward our doors. Headlights off, engine off. A figure behind the glass, unmoving. I still work there because I need the job. Rent doesn't wait, and bills don't care about fear. But I don't walk in empty-handed anymore. Now I keep pepper spray in my pocket right next to the box cutter. I tell myself it's enough. He used to work here. That's all. He doesn't get to decide how the story ends. But I still check the windows when we close at 10. And I still park where I can see the edge of the lot, because some people don't clock out when they're supposed to. Every time I took the trash out at night, I saw him sitting by the dumpsters. Out back of our Dollar Tree, the asphalt dips and collects a slick of oil and rainwater that never really dries. A single light hums over the dumpsters, bright enough to carve a circle, too weak to touch the fence line. He'd sit just beyond that glow, like he knew exactly where the light gave up. I work closing. It's not my favorite, but I'm steady with it. Count down the drawers, bag up the register trash, sweep the aisles, then wheel a gray bin down the back hallway to the steel service door. The door sticks unless you hip check it. It bangs like a sheet of thunder when it closes. We're supposed to lock it the second we come back in. Company policy. The first night I noticed him, I thought he was just resting. No car, no backpack, no pile of blankets. Just a guy in a dark jacket, knees up, forearms draped over them, a cigarette ember pulsing every few breaths. He didn't look at me. He didn't ask for anything. He just sat there, still in a way that made the hair on my arms tick. I wheeled the bin to the dumpster, flipped the latch, and tossed in the bags. I felt stupid for rushing, but I rushed anyway, listening to the casters buzz on the asphalt like an angry bee. When I pushed back through the service door, my shoulder hit harder than I meant to. The metal boomed, and I flinched at my own noise. "Everything good?" Marcus called from the stockroom. "Yeah," I lied, and set the deadbolt with my thumb. Just sticky door. The second night he was there again. Same spot, same posture, same nothing to do. He didn't dig through trash or look around or shield himself from the wind that came off the empty field behind the fence. He just faced the building and waited. "Guy's back," I told Marcus. We'd joked earlier and called him Dumpster Guy, because that's what you do with things that make you uncomfortable. Nickname them until they seem smaller. "I don't love this." Marcus followed me to the camera monitor. The backlot camera is old and cheap. It points at the service door and catches the first few feet of the dumpster pad, then falls off into black. We watched a square of gray noise and a tilted slice of corrugated metal. Whatever lived beyond that wasn't our problem, according to the camera, which is the same as saying it was our problem in real life. "He's not doing anything," Marcus said, and I knew he meant it to reassure me. "Probably just passing through." "2 nights in a row," I said. "Passing through to where?" He didn't have an answer, and neither did I. When I took the trash again, I kept my head down and moved fast. My heartbeat felt too loud in my ears. I told myself I would hear footsteps if he stood. I told myself I would hear the fence rattle if he climbed. I told myself a lot of things I didn't believe. On the third night, I called the non-emergency line before I ever touched the door. "Is he threatening you?" the woman asked, calm voice typing in the background. "No," I said. "He just sits there watching the door. It's every night now." "If he's not bothering anyone, there's nothing we can do," she said. "If he steps onto your property or tries the door, call us right away. Until then, keep your phone handy and watch your back." I thanked her because that's what polite people do when someone tells you you're on your own. That night, I took the trash out with my phone in my apron pocket and my thumb already resting on the 9. The light over the dumpsters buzzed. Moths spun slow circles through the cone of it. He was there, where I knew he'd be, a shape carved out of the dark. When I rolled the bin past, I felt his eyes on me, like walking by a window and knowing someone's on the other side of the glass. The gravel crunched. I turned. He was standing now. He didn't speak. He didn't step toward me. He just stood. Somehow that was worse. Threats, you can answer. Silence feels like a test you don't know how to pass. I tipped the bin, dumped the bags, and walked. Not ran. Walked. Back to the door. Because I didn't want to show my back more than I had to. My elbow hit the push bar. The door clanged shut behind me. I slid the deadbolt so hard my thumb hurt. "Okay," I said to no one, and breathed like I'd come up from underwater. "Police?" Marcus asked. "Non-emergency says unless he does something." I shook my head. "We're supposed to watch our backs." He swore under his breath, then glanced at the monitor. "Camera doesn't see him." "Yeah, that's the point," I said. For a week, he was there more nights than he wasn't. Sometimes he had a cigarette. Sometimes he didn't. Sometimes he sat with his head down like he could nap sitting upright. Sometimes he stared so long at the door I forgot how to swallow. The 7th night, there was a car. It was parked crooked near the dumpsters, 2 tires on the painted lines, like it had rolled in and stopped hard. No interior light. No headlights. The windshield was a flat sheet of darkness. He leaned against the driver's side fender with his arms folded, eyes on the door. It felt less like a person waiting and more like a clock counting down. I told Marcus I wasn't taking trash out alone. He said, "Good," and grabbed the other side of the bin. We pushed together. The casters squealed. The door banged open, and air that smelled like wet cardboard and old beer drifted in. "Evening," Marcus called, trying on a voice that was friendly enough to pass as casual and loud enough to pass as warning. The man didn't answer, didn't blink, didn't even turn his head. I felt Marcus hesitate, and I knew he felt it too, the way the night can go thin, like a drum skin stretched too tight. We dumped the bags and went back inside without turning our backs more than we had to. "We're locking early," Marcus said, once the bar slammed and the bolt slid home. He wasn't asking. "I'll call it into corporate and take the ding." "Call the police," I said. He nodded and dialed. We stood by the office window with the lights off, peeking through the slats in the blinds like kids hiding from a dare. Out back, the man shifted his weight against the fender and rubbed at his jaw. The movement was small and ordinary, and somehow made him more real, not less. "The officers are on their way," the dispatcher said through the phone. "Stay inside. Don't engage." We didn't. We waited. My mouth went dry. My shoulders ached from holding them up around my ears. The first thing we saw was the wash of blue and red across the ceiling, then the crunch of tires. 2 squad cars slipped into the back lot, slow enough to see but fast enough to say they meant it. The man pushed off the fender like a swimmer leaving the wall. He got in his car. The interior light did not come on. The engine turned over, a low, even purr, and he started to roll. An officer's voice carried across the lot. "Stay in the vehicle, hands where we can see them." To my surprise, he did. The second car angled in behind him, boxing him in. Another voice closer. "Pop the trunk." Marcus and I couldn't see the trunk from the office window. We could only see the officer's shoulders as they leaned in, the way one of them straightened and looked at his partner, the way the partner shook his head once, sharp and hard, and closed the lid with a flat slap. A few minutes later, one of the officers came to the back door. We met him in the stockroom. He kept his voice level, professional. "Here's what we found," he said. "Burglary tools, gloves, and something else in the trunk that wasn't good." "What does not good mean?" Marcus asked. "It means," the officer said carefully, "you were right to call. He's not going to be on your lot tonight. If you see him again, call immediately. Don't approach. Don't go out there alone." His eyes flicked to me. "Ever." They took him away for questioning, or for warrants, or for whatever comes next. The officer didn't say, and I didn't ask. My stomach wouldn't let me. We finished closing with all the lights on, which ruins your night vision but makes your brain stop whispering. The aisles looked like a movie set, too bright, too still, too staged to feel like a place where someone had been waiting for the moment you let your guard down. When I finally got home, I sat at my kitchen table with my hands around a glass of water I didn't drink. The house hummed. Refrigerator, air vent, the distant pass of a car that wasn't stopping for me. I watched the porch through the window and told myself 100 reasons why I was okay. Locked door, good neighbors, police aware, new plan for trash duty. It helped and it didn't. The next night at work, I walked the back hallway and pressed my palm to the steel of the service door. Cool, solid, indifferent. I could picture those few feet beyond it more clearly than any aisle in the store. The dumpster pad, the painted lines, the sag in the fence where people cut across to the field, the cone of light that made anything just outside it feel like a mouth. We changed our routine. Trash went out only when two of us were free. If no one was free, trash waited. The door never stayed open longer than the time it takes for a hinge to breathe. We logged the exact minute we rolled out and rolled in. I learned the weight of that gray bin down to the ounce. I learned the sound the casters made when one hit a pebble. I also learned there are questions that keep you up more than answers do. The officers never told us what the something else in his trunk was. They didn't need to. The look they shared said enough. It could have been anything. A length of pipe, a heavy chain, something wrapped in cloth he shouldn't have had. It could have been nothing but my imagination, but I don't think so. I saw the way the younger cop set his jaw when he closed the trunk. I felt what that meant in my ribs. A week went by without seeing him. Then two. The light over the dumpsters kept buzzing. The moths kept circling. We took the trash out together and came back in together, and the door slammed and the bolt slid and our hearts beat like we'd outrun something, even if it was only the way a thought can follow you. Every now and then, when the store was quiet and the air in the stockroom went stale, I'd catch myself walking that hallway and touching the service door again. Not to open it, just to remind myself there was a boundary, and I knew how to keep it. I still take the trash out at night, and sometimes, under the buzz of that backlight, I catch myself looking at the dumpsters, half expecting him to be there, waiting again. The police never told us exactly what else they found in his trunk, just that it wasn't good. And that's what keeps me up most. Not knowing if he was here to rob the store, or to do something far worse. Either way, I don't go out that door alone anymore, and I don't kid myself about what the dark beyond the light can hide.